When it comes to getting out of debt, it can be incredibly hard. $1 here, $5 here, it adds up over time if you don't have the financial habits to really rectify and start paying out and getting out from underneath your debt. In today's video, we're gonna be looking at 20 bad financial habits that will keep you in debt, starting with number one, impulse buying. This, of course, the silent budget killer. Overall, impulse buying means that it is an unplanned purchase that you're making. Sometimes, again, it can only be a couple dollars, but when you're starting to go to the register, when you're buying clothes, when you're doing a lot of things, there are consequences when it comes to the budget. And if you're actively trying to get out of debt, like a majority of Americans, this can be an absolute game changer. It has been surveyed that people spend $2,200 to $2,500. That is right, guys, $2,500 per year on impulse purchases, meaning that it is something that is not budgeted for and it is not something that is planned. Now, looking at number two, credit card reward points. This is the trap. The only way, and I know a lot of people say you can't get out of this, but the only way literally that a rewards card is any benefit to anyone at all is if you are paying it off in its entirety. Now, a lot of them have promo rates, a lot of them have promo points, but a majority of people do carry balance on those rewards credit cards, which means that you are paying for your rewards and you are exponentially paying for those rewards. When you think of not only shopping more often to hit those rewards or hit those perks, when a lot of places say, well, if you buy 5 of this item or 10 of this item, we'll give you this item for free, it makes your spending habits really worse because you're buying things you normally wouldn't because they tie it to an incentive where, hey, if you spend $3,000 in the next 30 days, we're going to give you a bonus. Again, they're enticing you to spend more money than you need to accumulate the points, which again, when it comes to the points, one, a lot of people don't redeem them or utilize them, but also a lot of people with the rewards points are carrying balance on those rewards cards, which means they are super expensive. Number three, this is one of the big ones, keeping up with the Joneses. This can cripple your entire ability to get out of debt and financially just really crush you as an individual. When you think of a bigger house, when you think of a new car, when you think of your financial goals, it is very specific and very tailored to you. When you have a 3-year plan, when you have a 5-year plan, you can't take the outside impulses and the outside really keeping up with the Joneses mentality of staying up and spending more than you need to on things you need. A lot of times when neighbor buys a car, you end up buying a car. They get this, you get that. It kind of goes back to a never-ending game of really staying and keeping up with exactly what they have. Financially wise, this is devastating. Number four, we look at retail therapy. This, of course, is shopping does not equal happiness. A lot of times when you buy things, it is a very temporary emotional relief. A lot of times coming with a regret once you have that item. Now, a way to really combat this with the financial habit is when you're going to make a purchase, wait at least 3 days, give it kind of a cool down period. Or a lot of people are also doing, there's only 1 day of a week where you do like purchase Wednesdays, where you can only buy an item that you need. That includes groceries. It includes everything unless it is a necessity on that specific day. Now, of course, alternates like exercising, pursuing hobbies, spending time with loved ones will give you a lot more satisfaction than going out and shopping in its entirety. And trust me, it is tried and true with me individually. Looking at number five, convenient spending. This is really paying for you being lazy. That's right. When you look at DoorDash, when you look at Uber Eats, when you look at Grubhub, not only are you paying for the item that you're purchasing, but you are also paying the delivery fee. You are also paying the tip, which means that you are just kind of extenuating circumstances I know can come out of here. If you're in one of those where you can't get out to get it, okay, I can see. But convenience often means instant gratification, but it can also mean that it is going to erode your budget. Where if you're setting aside $100 for food, then all of it is delivered. All of a sudden that $100 in food has a $140 price tag because you are delivering everything. Now, I've seen everything from literally a single cup of coffee that doubled the price with the delivery fee to even going to Jersey Mike's, which is across the street from my work, and literally a $12 sandwich had an $8 delivery fee, meaning instead of spending $12 for lunch, you are now spending $20 for lunch, which is kind of crazy. Looking at lifestyle inflation, this is more earning more, spending more. This is where a lot of Americans kind of get caught as well, where you got a promotion at work, you get a new car. You got a big promotion or a new job, you move into a new house. You have to really break down, and a lot of people do elevate the spending levels to the earning levels. One thing to remember, always going off Dave Ramsey, you have to spend less than you earn, period. That is it. That is the absolute game changer. When you look at supplementing your income with credit card debt, that is what a majority of people do. However, you don't want to get stuck in that because it is going to be, and trying to break out of debt is going to be impossible if you're spending more than you actually make. Next one we look at is ignoring your debt. This is a lot of people out of sight, out of mind. When they start getting the past due notices, when they start getting the collection calls, when they start getting summons for some, depending on how much it is, wages garnished, you have to pay attention. You have to talk to your creditors. Ignoring your debt is not going to make it go away. Most of the time, it is very crucial because if you're ignoring your debt, not only is it detrimental to your credit score, but there can also be a lot of other repercussions that come from it. Meaning that if you do have a past debt, talk to the lender, be open and honest. If you can't pay it, let them know that you can't pay it. Honestly, there's a lot of different programs and a lot of things they can do that most people don't know about when it comes to debt and really getting out of debt. Next one we look at is our budget avoidance, not knowing where your money goes. This, I know a majority of people, even when I put out my little survey on YouTube, talking about, hey, do you budget? 71% said yes. The other 28% or 29% said nope, don't budget at all, don't even know what a budget is. This means that you don't know where your money goes. Every dollar has a purpose every time. I do zero-based budgeting, meaning that when I get to the end, I look at the bucket that I have left over. I allocate it to different levers within my budget. If I know it's going to be more expensive, we're going on vacation, we want to do a concert, or I want to put more into my investment account, I can move those levers as needed to really know exactly where my money is going. So again, knowing the money that is coming in and knowing exactly where it goes makes a really big difference. Guys, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, consider subscribing. We'll continue with our 20 bad financial habits with no savings and no emergency fund. This, of course, is one that you have to start ASAP. The emergency fund and the savings account is the first legitimate way that you're going to get out of debt. It is impossible to get out of debt if you're reliant on credit cards. If you're living outside of your means, you have to have some way to, if an emergency happens, cover the cost of that emergency with the funds that you already have saved, which again is the reason why an emergency fund is vital. For a lot of people, if you're just starting out, this might be $25 a paycheck, and making sure that you pay yourself first to build up this emergency fund is going to make a game changer when it comes to the long time. Then we get into subscriptions. Everything in the world is looking for a couple bucks. When you look at streaming services, when you look at the car wash, when you look at the amount of very small reoccurring purchases have gotten to the point that Americans are spending over $200 a month on subscription services, which is kind of crazy. Make sure you're monitoring this. Make sure you're cleaning these up. I would say probably at least every 6 months, where if you subscribe to something, you got a free trial of something, then, 30, 60 days after that free trial ends, all of a sudden you're being charged for it. And I've also noticed it comes a lot with computers, with all of the software where, I pay for Adobe Premiere Pro, I pay for Canva. We have a couple different things in here, subscriptions that I monitor on a regular basis. And there's a couple that I don't use that I went through and canceled that I know that I'm not paying for any longer because, of course, they can rack up very, very fast. Now, the fee multiplier, this is paying your bills late, and I do not advise this for really two reasons. Number one, you're going to be hit with those additional fees. You're going to have to pay more than the original bill is if you have to pay it late, if it's delayed. Two, it can also affect your credit. When it comes to credit, if you're looking to borrow money, but even outside of that, if you're looking to get insurance, they use your credit report. If you're going to get a job, most of them pull your credit report. Fundamentally, there are so many things that your credit score and your credit report is used for. It makes everything exponentially more expensive for the rest of your life if you don't have good financial habits. This, of course, can lead to more debt because, again, things are more expensive. It's not that you're making more income, it's that things in general have gotten more expensive. When we talk about expenses, eating out and eating out frequently, this again is something when you look at the cost of the meal, when you look at the tip, even where, a meal used to be $10, $12, now you're spending 15 to 18 for that same exact meal, which means based on how much you're paying, if you're tipping, let's say 10, 15, 20%, depending on the service, not only are you paying more for the meal, you're paying more for drinks, you're paying more for appetizers, you're paying more for dessert, not only the main entree. And then when you couple that with a much higher bill and a much higher tab, you are tipping at an exorbitant amount as well, which means you can save a lot of money and usually eat a lot healthier if you use the cooking at home or the food prep option, which I highly recommend. We prep food and it works incredibly well. Now, next one we look at is failing to negotiate your bills or missing the opportunity. Now, there's a lot of times when you can do this, and I recommend doing this for everybody. When you look at your auto insurance, when you look at your auto loans, when you look at your mortgages, where can you get things cheaper? Where can you get it for less? When you look at cell phone bills, when you look at internet providers, it is an ultra competitive industry where if you have Verizon, if you have Xfinity, if you're going to AT&T, if you're going to T-Mobile, depending on where you're going and what you're using, most of the time you can find the same goods and services for a much cheaper rate because they are willing to essentially pay you or give you a discount to get your business over to where they are. Now, this is, of course, is another one that we see a huge rise in, the buy now, pay later. This means it is almost shadow debt. It is almost hidden debt, meaning that the buy now, pay later is a short-term borrowing, whether it is, I see Affirm doing it for 4 months, Apple Pay doing it for 6 months. Some places are, same as cash for 12 months. But that means not only are you increasing your debt and spreading it out over time, is you're also reducing your cash flow. I feel like that is the biggest hurdle that I do a lot of financial counseling with, is having the ability to manage not only your bills, debt management, but also having the ability to cash flow exactly what you need. Where people are accumulating too much debt, credit card balances start getting too high as the interest rates increase, and all of a sudden they cannot afford to do anything they want in their life because, again, cash flow poor, they run out of money, starts getting supplemented with credit card debt, meaning that credit card balance is getting higher and higher. Now, as we get to the end of this list, guys, not monitoring your credit report. When you look at credit cards, when you look at bank accounts, when you look at almost everywhere, they monitor your credit report, they monitor your credit score. You can get free updates from a ton of different places. I even believe right now with Discover that you can do free credit score monitoring, credit score, credit report, and get it for free, even if you don't have a Discover card, which is pretty cool. But a lot of companies do offer this, including financial institutions. Now, next one we get into is the quick fixes. This, of course, is the making money, debt consolidation, payday loans, balance transfers. A lot of these come with an exorbitant amount of fee, especially if you can't pay them off within the time that you kind of agreed to, making it way more expensive than it ever needs to be. Even when you look at cash advance places, you're looking at 200 to 300% APY when you break it over a year. Most of those are quoted in a 7-day time frame, but when you actually take it out to a year, you can see exactly how much you're paying for these. And then, of course, debt consolidation. I love debt consolidation in only one scenario. That is the point where you consolidate all of your credit card debt, get it all into one manageable payment, and do not, under any circumstances, rack up that credit card debt again. That is the only way, literally, that a debt consolidation loan will work, is if you manage your budget, you budget properly, you make more than you spend, and you have the ability to really build up that emergency fund, pay down the debt that you borrowed on that unsecured loan or the debt consolidation. It makes it way cheaper, again, if used properly, because of the rates that you can actually get with those. Now, when we get in, again, kind of at the end of these, insurance. You need insurance. I really stress this when it comes to homeowners insurance, when it comes to auto insurance, when it comes to life insurance, when it comes to renters insurance. It forgoes the possibility of an absolute disaster. And when it comes to a disaster, not only can it be a physical disaster, fire, flood, whatever it may be, but it can also derail your entire financial career and your financial plans because you didn't carry the proper insurance. And now you're stuck with a very, very heavy bill. When you start getting into, again, mitigating debt and reducing the debt, this is actually part of the strategy, is having the utilization of the insurance. And again, I know a lot of people don't want to pay for insurance, but when it comes to the benefit of it, it is tenfold if you ever do have to use it. And of course, the eternal debt cycle always goes with only making the minimum payments. When it comes to loans, when it comes to credit cards, when it comes to a majority of individuals, They only make the minimum payment at all, and that is it forever in that debt cycle. When you look at your credit card statements and you say, hey, if it makes the minimum payment, if you're making this minimum payment, it is going to take you 19 years to pay off this credit card. Nobody wants to carry on that debt for 19 years. Things you bought essentially, if you're paying that minimum payment, things you bought 17, 18 years ago are still going to be what you're paying for today if you are only making that minimum payment. And on the flip side of that, not investing, you're losing out and missing out on that compounding growth, which of course, when you look at 10, 20, 30 years, can be a game changer for literally your family and for the rest of your life in its entirety. And then of course, number 20 right here, the bad financial habit that you need to get out of debt is having a very short-term mindset, not looking out the 1 to 3 years, not looking out the 3 to 5, looking at the bigger picture and really understanding what debt plays in that picture and how it affects your finances in their entirety. So, all right, guys, so that is 20 bad financial habits you need to break to really get out of debt, and I'll catch you in the next video.